Hello, everyone. I am Jeffrey Foster, and I am a part of an amazing collaboration with an amazing individual who is.
Aaron Nance.
Yes, so we are in here. We are black male educators
Yes.
and who are passionate about the field of urban education.
Yes.
And so we just wanted to introduce ourselves, talk a little bit, tell you a little bit about ourselves.
Yes. So our podcast is called
Disturbing the Peace.
So the podcast is geared towards dismantling, disrupting, reimagining what education is, what it looks like, especially as it relates to black and brown students who are one overlooked, marginalized, minoritized. So you will hear those terms used throughout our podcast, whether it's on video with you guys, whether it's on our streaming platforms on Apple Music. We also about to get on Spotify as well.
Mhm.
So you will hear those terms used interchangeably as we talk about education, more specifically urban education. What is it? Who does it benefit? Who does it affect? And
Yes.
most importantly, as a researcher, we have to understand why.
Yes.
We can't just say this is what something is and not be solution oriented about
Mhm.
what the problem is.
Yeah.
So we are not only going to identify the problem, but we're going to talk extensively about the problems that exist in urban spaces.
Right. Yes. And this, like I said, this is something we're very passionate about. It's something that we live every day. It's not always easy being black male in multiple areas, whether it's in your career, just in society in
Yes.
general. And so we're excited about sharing our experiences as well as our expertise.
Yeah.
And you will see our why in everything that we do.
And one thing to note, Jeffrey, is
Mhm.
that we are unapologetically ourselves.
Yes.
We're not cookie cutters. We're not going around the surface. We're gonna give you straight how it is.
Yeah.
Very authentic. We are
Mhm.
unapologetically black, and
Mhm.
we're not apologizing for anything that we say.
Yeah.
We are truly here
Mhm.
to talk about systemic issues that are currently residing in education that is meant to reflect and inflict
And oppress.
and oppress black and brown populations. So our podcast is not just opinionated. Of course, we're going to talk about our
Mhm.
ideas and our experiences and things
Yeah.
like that. But we also going to bring in data and we're going to bring in research to back up exactly what we're saying.
Mhm.
If you don't believe us, fact check us.
Yep.
So now that you understand a little bit more about what are we doing and what are we bringing to the table, why we are here, we're going to give you a little introduction of ourselves, our backgrounds, where we come from, and most importantly, why education. So,
Yes.
Jeffrey, would you like to start off?
I will, and
Okay.
I feel like I've told my story so many different times in so many different ways.
But your story has a lot of layers to it.
That is true,
So-
and everybody has a story to
Everybody
tell.
has it. And with story, the biggest thing that's associated with the story is your name.
Yes.
Back in the day, we have orators and then we have shamans,
Mhm.
shamans who would tell like past historical narratives from generation to generation to generation.
Right.
Kind of like a folktale.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, this guy did this amazing thing, but you really don't know it. So storytelling, and as you know, because it's one of your classes that you teach, children's
Mhm.
literature,
Yeah.
storytelling is a central part of black history and black
Mhm.
culture. And we can talk about even quoting, how quoting was also passed down from generation to generation, especially during slavery.
Yeah. It's just different pieces and parts of culture.
That's it.
Because we have a deep, rich culture.
And I'm here, and I want to learn that
Mhm.
deep richness that you have bestowed upon you and in you. So let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Okay, well, yes, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am so on fire and I am passionate. Like, I don't know as many people. Aaron is very passionate as well. I don't know if I know anybody just as passionate about education and urban education as this guy right here, more than myself, because I am on fire. I have my good days. I have my bad days.
That
It's a journey.
it
You know,
is.
being successful within education is a
Yeah.
journey. I passed through my journey very quickly, and I'll talk about that with y'all a little bit. But I first want to say I come from a family of educators, and my great great grandma, she was the superintendent over all the black schools in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she did a lot of great work. I even visited this community center because I do community equity work within the city of Charlotte, and I saw an image of a school that my grandmother, my great great grandmother, started and funded. She was in the picture, and then I was even able to look her up in the UNC Charlotte archives, and I was
That's
like,
pretty cool.
"This is insane."
That's pretty dope.
And it's nothing. And my parents never told me about it.
That's pretty
That's
dope.
the crazy thing about it. When we gotta continue to pass these stories down,
Yes.
because everybody has made a contribution. We have so many ancestors that have made many different types of contributions, and it not necessarily building a school or something like that, but we are very talented individuals, and God,
Transcending.
yes, transcending, and
Transformative.
yes,
Mavericks.
there you
The
go.
list goes on.
Yes, warriors. We have an
Powerful.
inner warrior spirit, and no matter what education level, what label, what title you have, we have greatness inside of us, and it has been passed down. But I just want, but my great great grandmother was, she was the superintendent over all the black schools. I have so many educators in my family, and my grandma, who I love dearly, I was a grandma's boy, and she was a music teacher at a school for a very long time in Huntersville, right in the Charlotte Mecklenburg area. And she told me, she was like, "Jeffrey, you got the teaching gene." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that." And the reason why she found out is she owned a school of music, and she was not able to attend. She had an emergency, and so I taught a piano lesson when I was in high school. And then my grandma was like, "You did so well. I heard all about what you did. Like, you have that teaching gene." And I was like, "I'm not doing that." And so I went into college, went into undergrad, changed my major about 5 different times. Ended up my senior year. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna stop focusing on how I can make a decent living and focus on how I can make an impact and give back." And I decided to dedicate myself towards working with historically marginalized and minoritized students, and being an inspiration and an advocate through education and being a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, and that's it. And so I went into a master's program at UNC Charlotte, and I was like, "Okay, so I'm going to get my teaching license as an elementary school teacher and my master's as well." So I went ahead and I did that, and I had the opportunity to teach at an elementary school in Charlotte, Mecklenburg schools, and I fell in love with it. It was the hardest thing. Your first years of teaching are so hard. It's a huge learning curve.
And it's a huge commitment as well.
Yes.
It's a huge commitment.
But we did our thing. I still keep in contact with the families from my first year of teaching, and I have so many great stories to share about where they are. Those students are in college right now. So proud of them. However, I've always worked in urban Title I schools. So after that elementary school, I've taught 5th grade and 2nd grade. After that, I decided to go outside of the classroom, and I wanted to be able to support in more of a macro way. And I became an instructional technology facilitator and a diversity coordinator at a suburban charter school. I went from a traditional public school to a suburban charter school in Charlotte. I did that for a hot second because there was a lot of alarming concerns regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll talk about that at a later time. So another thing that after that, I got an opportunity to be a principal at a K-12 charter school, urban charter school in Charlotte, North Carolina, on the west side, and it was just very amazing and impactful. That was the hardest thing ever. I went through a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of negative culture and a white, let's see, what's the term? White savior complexes, superiority, meritocracy, you name it, and we'll be able to talk about that a little later. But I was the principal of elementary there, and then my executive director stepped down, and I stepped in to take over. And during that whole time that I was a principal and executive director, I was working on my PhD in urban education, curriculum instruction for concentration in urban education. I graduated from that, and it definitely supported me as I worked as a culturally relevant and responsive and sustaining school leader. And my research area focused on culturally responsive school leadership and working on providing equity for minoritized individuals and focusing on Black males in particular as it's associated with education. So that's a little bit about me and my background and my why and my purpose. And like I said, I'm very much on fire, and that's a little bit of my story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I don't know whether to call you Jeffrey or Dr. Foster. But no, thank you for sharing your story. And it's important and it's needed in this day and time, in this day and age. You know, right now the teaching pipeline for Black males is 1.3%, which before it was 2.2%, while the majority of white women still dominates the field according to Pew Research, which is 80%. And, you know, Black women is like 76% roughly of teachers, so we don't have a lot of representation as relates to Black males and creating a teacher pipeline and that sort of thing. So education is definitely, you're not in it for the money.
No, not at all.
You're in it for the passion, the love, and the care, but also to provide equitable access to Black and brown students that look like us. So it's all about representation. Yeah. So which is a reason why I got into education as well, because I come from inner city background, you know, single mom, absentee father, you know, that sort of thing. So it was really hard for me to find that male role model or that male experience or me understanding what it's like to be a male. You know, and that's very deep, and that's something that men don't talk about at all. Like, if you are a male, how do you become one? You know, I don't think it has anything to do with really hypermasculinity, but just about understanding like who you are as an individual person, like helping learning to engage. So I really didn't know who I was outside of what I thought or aspired to be. But education helped me change my own trajectory as I started on this path, which is why I began working with children in daycares. I was going to be a lawyer. My goal was to be a lawyer, a civil litigator, but that soon changed because I felt like it wasn't my vision that I was living, but I was living vicariously through other people. It is still the passion of mine, but not enough for me to say, hey, I'm going to switch from education and completely go to law school and be a lawyer. I feel like my passion is education, not care. So I started out working at a child care facility, working with 3s, 4s, the babies, the children, working at after school, and I loved it. I got joy. It didn't feel like work to me. It felt like it was my moral obligation to be there. If I wasn't there, then I worried about my students. I worried about what kind of teacher I was going to get. I worried about is somebody speaking up for them, or is people being advocates for them? So I made sure to show up no matter what, and I feel like that's important as a teacher to show up even when you don't even feel like it. But then I have to understand, I have to deny myself of who I am and put myself in the position like, what if my child don't eat? What if they get suspended while I'm there? What if, and then that falls on me. And so I worked primarily in elementary, Title I charter schools. I did start off at a charter school in CMS, Charlotte Mecklenburg School District, as you referred to earlier. Started off there as an English TA, and then after that, I moved to charter schools.
Real quick.
real quick. Now, that wasn't my goal or idea. It was because I was able to get an opportunity at a charter school, And I felt like because it provided me a little bit more flexibility, like this was my area, this was my niche. I again taught all grade levels, elementary, and then I went on to be a dean. And my last position was working as an assistant principal. So have a lot of stuff of knowledge about curricula, what's the difference between instruction and curriculum, because there is a vast difference. How to be, as you alluded to earlier, culturally responsive. What does it mean to be a culturally responsive teacher, especially as you are working with students who may have an IEP of 504? That doesn't take away from their ability to learn. That doesn't take away from their ability to constantly be pulled out of classrooms, which is what we're going to talk about furthermore in our podcast. So now I see you. I know you guys see the Clinton T-shirts here. So now we are both working in the education department at Clinton College. We are a team. And we work together in making these systemic changes to ensure our students have a successful future. So we're still in education. We are advocates for education. We care very deeply about education in the way in which it is going. Yeah. And we are working to change the narratives surrounding education, specifically the dominant narrative surrounding education, black students, black and brown students, and what does it mean to be black and male?
Well, yes, that intersectionality is something real.
It's important.
Yeah, and not what the media portrays, but what it really is.
Exactly. Go ahead.
The conscientization of a black male, as it's associated with education.
Right. And to piggyback or let me use a term that to veggie back.
Yes. Shout out to Dr.
Dr. Grant Wiggin,
pioneer.
The University of North Carolina, Charlotte. In classes, we always talk about veggie backing. So to veggie back off what you're saying, with conscientization, even using the great 20th century philosopher, sociologist, W.B. Du Bois, when he spoke about the double consciousness of a black man. And then he also talks about the talented 10th of a black man as well. You know, so along with what you're saying, the conscientization, but understanding that there is a double consciousness to it as well. So we're going to talk very deeply. We're going to have an in-depth conversation about these topics. Today was just a brief overview, an introduction of who we are, what you can expect moving forward. Please feel free to check out our podcast. That's again streaming on Apple, Disturbing the Peace. We're also going to be on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn. So be sure, you name it, we there. I should have just said that, huh? I love it. We there. Please be sure. And when you show up, show out.
Yes.
We welcome all feedback.
Follow us, subscribe, write comments, inbox us, all of that. DM us.
We are also putting together a website where we're going to be blogging as well, and we'll be able to share that information coming soon. And so, like, subscribe, follow. We invite you guys to come. We're going to do some lives. So we invite you guys to, like, voice your opinion. Interact. We are teachers. We love interaction. We love moving. We love differentiated instruction. We don't cater to one specific student, but the whole child.
That part. 21st century
learning.
Teachers.
That's it.
For 21st century learning.
That's it. That's what we're here to shake. We're here to make some movements. You know, we're here to stir it up. So
it's disturbing the peace, the traditional piece.
Yes, the traditional piece. We are not archaic. We are very innovative in our thinking and in our approaches as relates to education. You can't teach one way.
No.
You can't. It grinds my gears when I go to a classroom and I say to hey, y'all, today we're going to talk about this, today we're going to talk about that. Or what's up with teachers teaching sitting down?
Oh. Now, when I'm being a professor, I do have my intellectual think tank where I'm sitting down with students. However, I can't. As a principal, everybody knew my pet peeve was people sitting down. Oh, how
I think we hit a nerve, yo. I think we hit a.
how do you teach sitting
Sitting
down?
down,
How
right.
do you know if students are getting it? How are you?
How are you tracking?
So my style is indirect. I'm so indirect instruction. I ain't about that direct instruction. Let me give my little direct instruction, my little lesson, my lecture. The research shows that people's attention span match their age.
Yep.
So hurry up, get that modeling in, get them engaged, send them off, and you are facilitating their learning.
That's
you
it.
are coaching. You
That's
are
it.
walking around. And it may look like you're not doing anything, but if you're doing it right, you're tired.
Yeah.
Because you're conferring
Yeah.
with students.
Yeah. And, yeah. And that's the difference between education
Uh-huh.
and schooling.
Yeah.
That's the difference. But listen, we can talk about this.
I'll calm it down now.
We can talk about this all day long. But again, welcome to Disturbing the Peace. Hope you guys had a great time interacting with us. You know, the host of the show. We're going to be bringing in some visitors,
Yes.
some guest speakers, even here at Clinton College, which is located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Come up if you close by,
Yes.
show us a visit, ask for
Yes.
us.
Come through.
Come through. Isn't that what her said? Like, come through? Like her?
Maybe.
Anyway. But anyway, we are out. Thank you for joining this introductory session of Disturbing the Peace. So peace out to you guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right.